First up, we have Matthias Ziarko from VirtusLab, with a wide approach for building community and commercial plugins in Strapi, as well as sharing some awesome plugins they've already built. Over to you, Matthias.
Hello to you, everyone. My name is Mateusz Ziarko, and I'm engineer manager and also principal engineer in the VirtusLab, tech company located in Poland. Together with my colleagues, daily basis we are building and managing teams for the various scale projects, as well as building some awesome open source stuff. For the next 30 minutes, I'm going to take you through the journey of the stuff that we have managed together with a Strapi in one of our commercial projects. So the journey is going to have 4 phases. First of all, I'm going to talk about the case that we have had and what the case really was and why that everything has happened. Then I'm going to explain you the overall idea of the wise approach to the building of a community and commercial plugins. After that, I'm going to tell more about the plugins ecosystem that we have founded together with my colleagues and we are constantly extending. And finally, as a conclusion, I'm going to focus on the stuff that we achieved during last 8 months of our journey together with Strapi and also tell something more about the future, the closer one and the far future. As in the most tech companies, the need is the opportunity that has been recognized during the daily basis work, mostly in the commercial projects, because not all of us are working in the open source stuff from the init. We are mostly doing job to get the money for our companies. Same as we are building the team and managing highly expertise and complex team and couple other smaller teams for one of the biggest retailer companies in the world. The need was to build the stuff that's going to deliver the multi-context content to number of subsidiaries of our client. The solution have to be scalable, highly extensible, and maintainable in a long term. A core question that we have been raised: what engine we should use? The question that every team is asking at the beginning of every greenfield: to build something from scratch or not to build? We have decided to not do this, as the market is full of opportunities. If we are considering, especially if we are considering the long-term perspective, the solution written from scratch is not an option. This is obvious. The plan has been agreed with our stakeholders to manage a couple of spikes and POCs, and Strapi has been selected as one of the candidates, which we have validated against 5 major criteria. The built-in features available by just a single use of a command line, or simply speaking, everything that we are getting as a pack at the beginning. Next criteria: the size and activity of a community in the scope of support and developed goodies. Next one: if the core engine is open and extensible enough. And of course, following that criteria, if development of a plugins is feasible of course, without overriding the core functionalities and code base. There are also last criteria. There is also last criteria. The requirement from the business. So simply speaking, user interface have to be user friendly. Strapi has been compared with 4 others solutions on the market and selected without raising any strong concerns by the whole engineering team, not only the team that I'm managing and that built the solution that I'm going to talk about later, and also no one from stakeholders raised anything. So we've done the Spike POC and go forward. Thanks to the concept of extensions and the plugins that is delivered with a Strapi, we found a perfect opportunity that we can work with a Strapi CMS by the 2 independent streams of work, which we called the wise approach of development of plugins for community and commercial. The building concept allows us to design plugins that are exposed to the community as well as extended by some fancy business logic to the commercial, and that part is a private equity and value of a client. So from one side, we've got the community with open source stuff, free to use. From the other side, we've got the same open source stuff with some additional features and the business value. Sounds great. The clue of the process was to define the hard border that we cannot break between the open and the commercial value. As in all hybrid approaches, there are a number of benefits, but of course, there are some trade-offs and consequences of our decision. From the benefits, which I can mention that was for sure the limitless scope and the community, there were also some consequences because we have to deal with some additional investment of a VirtusLab to not affect the client contract and also to be fully transparent in the actions that we are taking while we are working on the open source and on the business value in the hours of the project. The good thing here is that historically, as a company, we've been well prepared for that kind of an approach, as VirtusLab is dealing successfully with the open source communities since years. Getting back to the clue, the key factor of each development of a plugin was the identification of already mentioned value border and proper design of a controllers, services, utilities, and the handy interface that we wanted to provide. The design principles we took based on extension points in each core service and controller methods, as well as good code division and structurization, what was quite obvious. Based on the example that you are able to see on the right hand side of the screen, the validate and save method. We took assumption that overall save process is going to be exactly the same for the open source and commercial extension. So even if the schema of a model is going to be overridden by the commercial extension, we are going to save it as it is. So create, update the whole payload using the whole payload without any special operations except validation, which has been identified as the extension point because of possible special requirements for the business logic and the business validation. And in that validation method, we have had special call for the extension. In this extension, we are doing all the stuff that is required by the customer value, business value, domain favor, whatever. So all the stuff that is not necessary for the open source. That kind of approach gives us possibility to write the single method in our core code base and keep it without any modifications, even if we are doing the extensions to our plugins because of some reasons. If we are going to use also the unnamed parameters, the proper structurization of a code, we've got highly extendable code base where we don't need to overwrite anything that is managed as a core part and maintain any changes in that methods. So updates from version to version is easy and fine as a charm. Of course, that doesn't mean that we are not looking forward for recently announced Strapi plugins API. That, in our opinion, that might be the game changer for the developers, as we are imitating, at least I guess so, we are imitating that kind of an approach in our WISE approach by those extension points. Also, worth to mention is a support for the TypeScript that my team is using anyway from init. Why not? As I've been talking a lot of plugins and that kind of stuff, but to be honest, what in reality we have delivered for the community? As I mentioned about the community value, I mentioned about the customer value. So community have to use something and our client also have to use something. Before I'm going to expose that, it's worth to mention about part of a research and development division of a VirtusLab that has been founded especially for dealing with a Strapi CMS plugins and extension. That's the full focus of that part of a R&D division. So we are able to support the community stuff without affecting anything that we are doing for the commercial. And all of the stuff that we are doing for community is the additional investment and also effort given by my colleagues and myself. Handy, transparent, isn't it? No one is going to say and even think that you are doing something wrong. But getting back to the plugins topic. In the last 8 months, we have developed 7 plugins, the open source plugins, from which all of them we've also extended, especially for our customer. Those plugins empower Strapi functionalities that I'm going to talk about just after. But also, to those plugins, we have developed 2 handy utilities, especially for the developers. Like, I'm going to share a bit about one of them, the deep search service that is dealing with nested structures and nested relations, especially the polymorphic relations between components of a Strapi. So you are able to search in deep. Of course, it's sometimes heavy, but that's a huge extension that we are using in our commercial project for the deep searches of a huge structures in our entities and schemas. Also, as a goodie for the developers, we have developed the typings for our plugins. But let's get back again to plugins itself. One of the two, the most popular, is the one that provides ability to manage information structure and navigation in the client's app powered by the Strapi, the navigation plugin. With a number of validations, configuration, and easy enough to understand user interface, of course, also easy to understand and use by the non-technical users, is the one that, let's say, I think we are the most proud of, as that was a game changer for our business users, as they are able to build tree structures, render all the stuff using different rendering outputs like Redux first router, flat, and tree structure renderers. That has been the big missing piece in the building Strapi functionality that we have identified and covered. And the first major version has been just recently released after a couple of public beta, couple of months of a public beta period. For what I would like to really thank you as a community, especially the community contributors, because thanks to your effort, your comments, discussions with all of you guys, and all the valuable feedback that we have received, we've done it much better and aligned to your needs and requirements. The next one is, to be honest, the first plugin that we have developed. The plugin that was a part of a Spike and POC that we've been doing for Strapi and all the other, as I remember, the 4 other solutions on the market. The comments plugin is a end-to-end comment feature with a private and a public parts of a REST API exposed, moderation panel with a blocking of a comment, of a treat functionality, also with a possibility to remove the comments, filter by articles, doing the mailing notifications to the moderators, and also reviewing the abuse reports. Sorry, everything in the moderation panel that we have prepared also as a dedicated interface. Worth to mention, the plugin is fully integrated with a Strapi airbag, so you will be able to define which roles are able to view, moderate, and review all the reports that are coming from your audience. Altogether, in our opinion, it's a great alternative to the third-party SAS solutions, as it is written directly for the Strapi. You don't have any other third-party integrations. And based on what we are seeing on the GitHub, the stars counter is still and constantly increasing thanks to you as a community. We have took also the approach to the security and auditing, which was one of the also missing parts. I'm not talking about the logging in terms of putting the structures into some logger solution, the monitoring solution. That was a step forward that we have done, and we have developed the Audit Lock plugin that is a non-visual one, but it is fully integrated with a built-in Strapi content manager and editor, and it registers all the actions and changes to the structures, to the content that our administration panel users are doing. So based on the stored logs, you are able to track all the changes and found what has been done wrong during the editing process. If needed, there is also the possibility to integrate with third-party plugins, services, and so on, thanks to the type of integration that we have done, the event-based integration, that it is simple and easy to use. Nothing different that you are just emitting proper events in your services, and everything is stored and possible to be reviewed. But before founding the Audit Logs plugin, we've been also working with a versioning stuff and reviewing. We have developed the versioning plugin also as a non-visual one that additionally provides a small extension that is manually applied to the Strapi content manager that gives possibility to see the revisions of each entity of your collection. Unfortunately, because of a mentioned extension and the dependency to Strapi content manager, that was really hard to maintain, and we've been affected by every version change because Strapi core team is constantly working and improving the content manager as a core part of a Strapi itself. So even the small changes have been affecting our extension because we've been obligated to update the files again and again and again. So that wasn't enough efficient. But to be honest, the work hasn't been aborted. We have just revised our approach to the versioning, and as now we've got the Audit Lock plugin, we are mostly thinking about delivering the special plugin or extension that is going to provide ability to review the history changes, check the versions, revert to specific version. So it's going to be special extension, or maybe we are going just to merge those two plugins together, or also we are waiting for the Strapi plugin API, as it also might be a way here. At least we hope so. And last but not least, the preview plugin, which is a simple non-visual one, also connected to already mentioned Strapi content manager. In the basis, this plugin provides ability to run preview URLs in our client apps that are powered by the Strapi, by the API. So based on the example, you are registering the preview URL in the configuration. You've got special button in the Strapi content manager, which clicked gets you to the client application with proper parameters. And if your client application is handling this, you will be able to review the content and see the content in the real environment without need of publishing it. So you will be able also to review the draft stuff in the real environment and look and feel. Of course, as I said, your client app have to support this, but also it has got dependency to the Strapi content manager. So once again, Strapi plugin API for the rescue of plugin authors and maintainers. Going to conclusion, quite a lot has been said, and I might assume that you are also interested what we have achieved by all of this. It's not the April Fool's Day, but what I'm going to say sounds a bit silly, or might sound a bit silly, because after a couple of months, also the consequences that we have identified and we have to deal with becomes the benefits. Silly, unpopular, isn't it? Yeah, but that's how it is, indeed. We are now working with an awesome community, so big applause to you, all of you. And the community that is mine of ideas. We've got a lot of fun by working with you guys. And the consequence of an invest is the benefit now. Our commercial client also sees the benefits because delivering of the stuff is cheaper and quicker also. We are also moving our client more and more to the side of open source. We'll see. The conclusion without piece of the numbers is not a real conclusion. So I've taken opportunity and checked the NPM trends of our plugins. And it might be now a bit outdated, but we are seeing how the numbers are still growing. So the interest is constantly going up. Also, as we have invested a lot of time and effort to all of this, we've got the plans for the closer and the far future. We are going to lift up and stabilize the stuff that we already done and is already live, so all the plugins. We've got also the monorepository called Strapi molecules that we are going to probably redefine and review to get a better value for you guys. And as a VirtusLab team, we are going to deliver a lot of new stuff that we have planned, or maybe even acting as our client team. We will see. So now that's all. I hope you enjoyed what I've been talking about and showing you for the last 30 minutes. And if you would like to talk with me, just manage the virtual handshake. You can find me on the Twitter, or other socials like LinkedIn, Facebook, or just simply ping me on the Strapi community Discord. I'm there after this showcase and all the day. I will be more than happy to answer all of your questions and talk about opportunities to cooperate and build the awesome stuff for the community or even for the commercial. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthias, for that brilliant talk. I hope you're all feeling a little bit wiser. I'm definitely looking forward to trying out these plugins. I'm particularly interested in the comments plugin, which I currently use on another project. And I'm also interested in the navigation plugin and the other plugins you have on board. It's nice to see lots of really great development being done to bring the common features that we see in other CMS systems or like traditional systems like WordPress coming into Strapi and making it much more useful and beneficial for people who are coming from those backgrounds. And you find that sometimes you find yourself reworking these features anyway, and everyone does it a different way. So it's nice to have like a standardized way to approach developing plugins, but also to have a nice bank of plugins available to call upon. So thank you, VirtusLab, and thank you, Matthias, for that talk.